Hello, welcome to Walking Without Rhythm, a Dune podcast where we suffer through Dune prequels. I'm Jeremy, and with me is Marcel,
Howdy.
and we're going to be talking about Dune, the Butlerian Jihad. If you want to start reading Dune chronologically, this is where you start. Um, I don't know why you do that, but anyway, Dune, the Butlerian Jihad it takes place in a time when the thinking machines are ruling the universe, essentially, or the known universe. Humanity's kind of on its last legs. We have free humanity, and we have most of humanity's enslaved to the thinking machines. It was a group of humans called the Titans that overthrew Earth's governments, and in order to maintain control over humanity, they put their brains into machines so they could live forever. Unfortunately, the their leader Twi'lek kind of disappeared, and their AI Omnius, who was programmed by Agamemnon. Agamemnon is probably the main Titan we deal with
Yeah.
in this book. He made an AI called Omnius, and Omnius was too good at its job, and decided I might as well take over. But the Titans programmed a safeguard that they could survive um, when Omnius just decides to eradicate all the humans and enslave them. Um, we cut to the current time with Vorian Atreides, son of Agamemnon, who wants to become a thinking machine himself because he thinks that that is the ultimate evolution of humanity and it's something to be proud of. But he is naive and is only believing what his father tells him. Um, you want to join in, Pixie? Pixie has joined us here. For those of you who who don't follow my YouTube or and don't watch the video, Pixie is my cat that likes to throw everything on the ground while I record. So we're off to a good start this morning, and she's decided she has to be right in frame. Good times. Anyway, um, meanwhile we have our Harkonnen, Xavier Harkonnen, who is basically our like good, straight laced good guy for this
Yeah.
until he's
It's like
kind of not.
yeah.
But he's never like straight up villainous. He is the head of the military for the League of Nobles, which is the precursor to what will become the Landsrod in like proper Dune. And he is betrothed to a woman named Serena Butler, who um, doesn't like the League of Nobles because they don't ever get anything done and they don't care about the not all of them have the same like thoughts on humanity. Some of them are slavers, some of them aren't. um anyway, when Giedi Prime is taken by the thinking machines, Serena Butler races to action and goes to rescue the people of Giedi Prime before they can be enslaved by Agamemnon, and she ends up captured. And that's kind of the first half of the book. Meanwhile, we have a bunch of side plots that are just kind of there. We have a Fremen boy who gets well, he's not they aren't called Fremen yet. He's a what was it, Senzudi Wanderer,
Yeah.
um, who is cast from his tribe on Arrakis, because of course we have to have Arrakis because this is a Dune book. And he ends up discovering how to ride on one of the great sandworms on Shai Hulud. There's another plot line with Holtzman and this girl whose mother's not Benny Gesserit, but just has the Force, because we have to have Benny Jesuit, but they aren't that because the schools don't exist yet. So we just have psychic women in this universe.
Yeah, they're called the Sorceresses of Rossack, I think.
They're assholes, just like Benny Gesserit are. They're the same thing, only a little more annoying because they don't have any of the wisdom.
Right.
So this one girl who's like her mom's like their leader, she's like she's not doesn't have any of the power, but she's very intelligent, so she goes to work for Teal Holtzman, who's created the Holtzman personal shields, which is a little plot point of this book. And we find out that Teal Holtzman's like kind of a has-been and is trying to hide that fact, which is a neat plot line. It might be the only time I say that for this book. Also, we have another Zen Buddhist boy who's enslaved from his planet, and we see him being forced into service for Tia Holtzman because on his planet there's still slavery. Anyway, what ends up happening is that an evil robot Erasmus does horrible things to Serena Butler, and Vora Atreides is like, maybe I'm not on the right side, and a freaking it sounds like utter nonsense, by the way. I'm trying really hard here, people, but this book is nonsense. It's just too many things happen in it, but nothing happens. So please bear with me. Anyway, the humans of Earth rebel, and it causes a jihad that, in a lot of ways, doesn't matter.
Yeah, the breaking point, I think, is when Serena Butler's she's captured and given to Erasmus, and she has a baby, right? She's pregnant when she's captured, and Erasmus starts hating the fact that Serena's spending more time and more focused on her baby than him, and so he basically takes the baby and what's maybe one of the most horrible things I've ever read, and flings it off a balcony. And it's that death that kind of sparks the jihad, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, after he gave her a forced hysterectomy.
That's right.
I'm like, what am I reading?
But
Erasmus is an evil robot. He's not he is a thinking machine, but he's not like he's not a Psymech, which are the ones that have the brains. He is a machine, but he was lost for a long time. He fell down a ravine for many years, I think, and he just refused to upgrade, like AI upgrades after that, and so he's just weird, and he likes to vivisect humans, and treat them terribly. Anyway, hang on.
That
you can take over from here.
Yeah, sure. There's that on Earth, which is where Serena is taken and where Erasmus is based out of. There is there's obviously human slaves, but there's also one slave master. He's human. I think his name's like Ginjo Iblis or something like that. And Iblis, he aids Serena in her escape along with Vorian Atreides after her baby's murdered. Earth is revolting at this point, which Iblis helps kind of get the revolution off the ground. They escape Earth. They go back to the League of Nobles. At that point, Xavier Harkonnen's already married Serena Butler's younger sister. So it's like, oh, awkward. Like, yeah. And I think they make a plan to essentially attack Earth because that's where the Omnius Evermind's original copy is housed. And then I forget what happens from there because I read this book back in July.
Nothing much. Oh, all the slaves are killed on Earth. Spoilers.
Right, that's right. Yeah, all the humans are killed or eradicated on Earth. And it's at this point that I think Omnius decides, like, okay, you know what? We're keeping human slaves, but we really just need to eradicate all of them everywhere.
and the humans irradiate Earth. They drop atomics on it. That's like the final thing. But this is paralleled with a slave revolt on Bacaz.
Which is Holtzman's planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Run by Lord Blood, one of the dumbest character names I've ever read in one of these books. This was laziness. What a lazy name. And basically a bunch of Buddhist Lamists just take a bunch of the nobles. It's basically the Iran Contra terrorist attack.
Yeah, it feels like that.
They just take a bunch of the instead of it was a bunch of people that worked in the embassy in the real event. In this, instead, it's a bunch of nobles that they hold like they hold them hostage, but it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, the slave leader's killed. The
Yeah,
revolt leader. Yeah.
brutally.
Yeah.
Because this is a Dune prequel book, so it has to be as gross as possible.
Yeah. Are we forgetting any plot line, or is that everything? I think that's everything. Oh, there's the
spice pot line.
Right, there's the spice plot line. Yeah. So like a proto melange, I guess, that they've found.
No, it is melange.
It is melange. Okay.
It is melange. There's a slaver. It's the slaver who takes the Buddhist Lamist boy into slavery. He has his own side plot where he meets up with Fremen to sell spice, which happened to be the Naib that threw out the kid that's the worm rider.
Yeah. That kid's the very first worm rider. He figures out, oh, you can ride these things across the desert.
Mm-hmm. And he just kind of terrorizes people.
Yeah. His name's Salim, I think.
Salim.
Yeah.
He is Salim Worm Rider.
Yeah.
But there's that, and that also ties into the leader of the not Bene Gesserit's husband gets involved with the spice, and they essentially start the spice trade.
Yeah, Aurelius Venport is the husband, and I think the not Bene Gesserit witch is Zufa Senva, and her daughter, who goes to Tia Holtzman, is Norma Senva. There's a lot happening in this book.
There's too many characters. That's
too many characters. Yeah.
Shall we talk about like our grievances with this book?
Sure. How much time do we have? I'm just kidding. Yeah, go for it. Go, just dive in. Ride right in.
Yeah. We needed at least 3 plot lines cut from this book. There's too much in here. At the same time, nothing happens.
It feels that way.
It is an anomaly. The first half of this book drags so hard. I was wondering what the point was. And how many months did it take me to read this book?
Well, I think we started, I want to say in like May or June, and then you finished in November, and I finished right at the end of July. So it took me a few months, and I think it took you just stopped. You stopped for months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because nothing happens in this book, and it was just annoying. And I'm like, what is the point? It makes me worried because Machine Crusade is even longer than this book.
You know, that's the problem, I think, with a lot of these prequel books in general, is that, like, this is, I want to say, my copy is around 650-ish pages or so. And legitimately, I think this would have been a much more decent book if it was like 350. Like, they could have cut out a whole 300 pages.
Or if you want to have a long book, you just make the trilogy into one book.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see on that once we get through the other 2, if that would have been feasible. Because that was my thing with the Dune Prelude books. The last prequel trilogy we read, it should have just been one book. Like, most of these, Frank Herbert's original books, Dune's the only long one. All the other ones are fairly short. They're like normal length. I mean, Dune Messiah and Children of Dune are really short, but like the other 3 are like standard length books. I don't know why these books like just have to be so ungodly long. It's just bizarre. And I know they stopped doing that because like the Dune Caladan trilogy looks relatively short. So
Yeah.
why? Or why are we doing this?
Yeah, I don't
Why?
know. It doesn't make sense. There's like when I started this book, the first scene I think is so it's the Titans leading the Cymex, who are like the humans who have been converted into essentially machines, right? They have like their brain canisters and they're attached to machines. They lead an attack against the League of Nobles homeworld, which is Seleucus Secundus, which we later know to be sort of like the homeworld of the Corinos, right?
Mhm.
And Xavier Harkonnen leads the counter attack, sort of like leads the forces to defend the homeworld. And I thought that scene was really good. And like I was like, okay, great action. And I'm interested in this book. And then sort of like everything just kind of exploded from there and it just dragged on.
Yeah. And I don't like Xavier Harkonnen.
No.
And
Uh,
he's
The
supposed to be our straight-laced good guy, but he's boring.
the problem is like this book has to, and I kind of get it. I think wasn't really well executed, but it has to introduce a whole bunch of hooks, right? Not only to remind you that this is a Dune book, but also to set things up for the future. And it feels artificial because all of these things are being introduced at the exact same time. So you have the pre Benny Gesserit, which is you have the pre spice trade going on. You have the proto Fremen. You have the Holtzman, the shields, but they're talking about like how they could fold space. So kind of the beginning of being able to travel vast distances. You have the beginnings, I think, the glimmerings that they kind of hint at of a rivalry between the Harkonnens and the Atreides, because both of them love Serena Butler, right? So there's this weird love triangle going on. It's just so weird that all of this is happening at the same time. It doesn't feel organic. It feels very, very forced and artificial.
Yes, it feels like member berries before member berries were a thing.
Right.
It's very frustrating. It's very clunky.
Yeah.
Um, and like here's the thing, like I get if this was just one book and not a trilogy, like I get having to throw all that stuff in if we were just going to get one prequel. But we have three prequels. Also, we got to talk about this is not Frank Miller's vision for
Frank
the
Herbert's vision, but maybe not Frank Miller's version
oh,
either.
definitely. Well, you might. It's kind of close to Frank Miller's post 9/11 vision of things.
Yeah.
I can't wait for when we get the Butlerian Jihad comic adaptation and Frank Miller does the art. It's terrible blocky art
Yeah.
that people have paid a lot of money for those Marvel variants he did this year.
Oh man.
This is going to date this podcast. But yeah, no, it's not Frank Herbert's vision. Frank Herbert's vision wasn't like this is Terminator.
Yeah.
The machines are just it's just Terminator, but like one of the Terminator sequels, like Genesis,
Yeah,
or
it feels like if actually that's a really good comparison. It kind of does feel like Genesis.
it's like one of those bad sequels where it's like, what do we have left to do? Oh, they're thinking machines. They must be an evil Hal-esque AI that controls them. And it's like, no, it was just people became too dependent on machines and it stagnated the human race. And a group of people decided, no, we need to get rid of them. And they had a jihad and they got rid of machines. And that's where the schools of Dune come from.
Yeah.
And the irony is, there was a Dune encyclopedia that Frank Herbert endorsed in the 80s that was considered canon until these books came out. Until Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson, who claim, oh, we had a bunch of notes. And it's just the most disingenuous thing.
I
There
don't think
was,
anyone's seen the notes that they talk about, right? I
yeah,
would love
no,
to see those published.
what notes? What notes? I don't believe they exist, quite frankly, and no pun intended. And I just don't. I don't.
Can
I
we
don't.
talk we talk about Erasmus? Because I always had an issue with, and I told you this when I was reading it, the fact that Erasmus exists in the first place, because you have basically two AIs now. They're not even really competing, but you have Omnius, who's like the main AI, and there's a bunch of Omnius kind of Everminds, I think, like installed on every planet, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
part of Vorian Atreides, we didn't talk about his robot companion, whose name escapes me, but Vorian Atreides, being sort of Agamemnon's son, goes around the planets, like helping sync the Omnius Everminds, right? Downloading data and helping it sync with the main Evermind, and he's accompanied by this essentially AI. But there's like all these like little different AIs, and I just feel like a true malevolent AI wouldn't allow any of these other AIs to
They
exist.
would all be Omnius, and
They would
I
all be
thought
Omnius.
the
Yeah,
same thing, and it was
yeah.
just weird. Erasmus, well, you know why? You know why Erasmus exists.
Is it because of the end of Dune Book 6?
Yes.
Oh no. Oh no.
I won't explain further,
Okay.
but basically, I knew as soon as Erasmus was there. I automatically knew what the outcome of Butlerian Jihad was going to be as soon as Erasmus was introduced.
Yeah.
It was so obvious to me, and I knew what the general purpose of this whole trilogy is. And
Yeah.
we'll talk about it once we get to
The sequels.
Hunters of Dune. Hunters of Dune is when they attempt to bridge their books to the original books, like fully. But also, like, I have heard that these books, this trilogy, which I think is called the Legends of Dune trilogy. I can't remember. It has a name.
Um, yes, Legends of Dune prequel trilogy. That's right.
I've heard that these contradict things that are brought up in the Preludes trilogy.
Is the Preludes trilogy the one with the schools, or no, the one that we just read?
Yes, the House, also known as the House trilogy,
Yeah. Okay.
because they allude to these books a whole bunch, but they hadn't written these books yet. And I think it's just because I've heard Brian Herbert really wanted to write this
Yeah.
like first, which explains a lot.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that this book was written doesn't necessarily offend me or anything like that. Like, I think it's an interesting story to tell. I think the way that it was told was not sort of what I expected, but also just executed very poorly. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it is the worst thing a book can be. Like, have too much going on and nothing at all at the same time.
Yeah, and I think we think that because the characters themselves are very flat. There's not as much philosophy in this book, and we said that with the House trilogy as well. But there's not really that philosophy in this book, and this book is the one that kind of begs for the philosophy, because it has the Titans, which are interesting. They essentially led to the rise of AI, right? They conquered all of humanity and turned themselves into like part machine, part man, and then they're the ones who created Omnius. But we don't spend enough time with them. We don't spend enough time with really any of the characters to get to know them.
Mhm.
Maybe Serena Butler is the only one, but even then, we only spend enough time with her so that there's an emotional reaction for when her child gets murdered.
Yeah, and on top of it, like, Vor Atreides, his whole motivation is he's attracted to her,
Yeah,
which is hilarious. And I kind of like that because he's essentially, well, he's incredibly oppressed and doesn't know it. He is the luckiest human of the enslaved worlds.
yeah,
Essentially, he basically is on the fast track to becoming a thinking machine himself, a neo Cymac,
Neo Simek.
which are the other thinking, like, there's the Cymex, and then they needed to make more of them because they lost some at some point, which I think will be explained in sequel books. Um, but they they needed more, and so they have the Neo Cymex, which are a lesser version of the Cymex, which are slaves that like prove themselves and they get their brains put in or something like that.
Yeah,
And Agamemnon's been he just throughout his like vast life, he just has random slave women impregnated with his children to see if they will be worthy successors or something.
Yeah.
And Vor is the 13th one because he's been forced to kill the previous 12.
I didn't realize it was that many actually, but yeah, I think that makes sense. And the one thing about the Cymex or the Titans, so there's 20 of them. We only really, I think, get introduced to maybe 5 of them in the book, like 5 or
Yes,
6. Yeah.
and only
Um,
to kill off at least 2 of those.
yeah. So there's Agamemnon. I think what Juno is one of them, and that's Agamemnon's mate.
They have the weird brain sex. You can't forget
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Barbarossa, Ajax. Ajax is the one who's sort of like their general, their warrior, and he hates humans and just
And
likes
he's
to
a
kill them.
psychopath.
He's a
And
psychopath. Yeah.
he does get his comeuppance, and it is the most satisfying thing in the book.
Yeah, he gets torn apart by human slaves who revolt, I think.
And
Yeah.
they beat his brain with a hammer.
Yeah.
Barbarossa is kind of interesting, but the thing is, Barbarossa doesn't become interesting till after he's dealt with.
Yeah,
And
I think he was the
quote,
one who basically, like, he created the, if I recall, he's the one who created uh the failsafe that, like, it's like almost like Asimov's like first law of robotics. Like Omnius cannot kill its masters, which are the Titans, right? So he's the one
yeah,
who created that. Yeah.
it's either him or Agamemnon did it.
Yeah.
Um, and then there was, I can't remember what the other. There's the one that's a coward that they just like kind of bully into doing things.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember that
I
one's
can't
name
remember
either.
his name. And then there was also Twi'lek. Twi'lek was the original one. Um,
Yeah. The one
and
who
and the
led the revolts. Yeah.
Cogitor is another one too, but he's kind of different. He's basically a monk that's a brain in a vat.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Uh,
way too many characters in this book. I'm
it's
looking at the back, trying to find out the name of that one Titan who's um the coward. There's just no way.
yeah,
Yeah. The other thing I think, so in the previous books, I said that I really liked those little descriptions at the beginning of each chapter. Like they have like a little quote or maybe a saying or something like that. In this book, it didn't kind of hit us as well as it did in previous books. And I don't know, maybe they're running out of profound sayings.
yeah,
But that was one thing that I was kind of always on the lookout for. Um, the plot line with Salim felt very kind of just shoehorned in.
yeah. We have to have Fremen.
Yeah.
That's all it was. That was like Pardo Kynes' plot felt shoehorned in the last books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not. Wasn't a fan of this one.
No, me neither.
Is this the worst one we've read?
I think so.
I think yeah. This is one of the worst books I've ever had to podcast about. I will say that it is not the worst thing I read this year, but it came pretty close. And some people are going to be offended by this, but
Yeah.
this
But I
was
mean,
just
we got to
bad.
say what we think, right? There was I was reading a review on this and they said something like the reviewer said, and I'll quote or paraphrase it, but if they had hooked up this book up to Frank Herbert's grave, they could power the state of California with how much spinning he's doing in his grave right now. It was just like a terrible, terrible thing to say, but like, and forgive me for, I'm not trying to make fun of the dead, but like, it's just like when we talk earlier about how it doesn't feel like it's Frank's vision again. Like I just want to go back very briefly to the philosophy, right? There was an opportunity here to talk about sort of what does it mean to be human, right? In this era of, and Erasmus kind of dances around the edges of that, but like, what does it mean to be human in this era of artificial intelligence? and kind of like a prescient book in the sense that now we're kind of dealing with the early stages of artificial intelligence in the real world, but it just didn't feel like it didn't feel relevant, this book.
Mhm.
You know, when you read it in the context of 2025, when we have this proto AI that people are using, right, like Gen AI, it just doesn't feel as relevant as it should.
Mhm.
It feels kind of like just like a fairy tale almost, right? Whereas the original Dune books, something about them felt prophetic in a
Mhm.
way.
Yeah, and it was the hero's journey taken to its extreme, and to question. There was always questioning. You always needed to question
Yeah,
who was in charge, and then later on, it was, well, who even remembers what happened?
right.
And dealing with that, like that, those last two books, that's what that's about, and just
Yeah,
where have we come from?
yeah,
Why why does Duncan Idaho have to lay the pipe so good that he controls women? You
yeah.
know? Um, but yeah, this is weird. I would, you know what I was really worried was gonna happen?
Go for it.
We were gonna have an ancestor of Duncan Idaho.
You know, we may yet,
We
right? There's two
may,
more books.
but Duncan Idaho has been in, this is the first Dune book in publication order that doesn't have some form of Duncan Idaho in it.
You know what would be funny is if it was actually just Duncan Idaho introduced in later books, and we find out that the one in the original Dune is himself a Gola. He's just been around for the entire timeline.
Oh God. Yeah, that's Salim Wormwriter is actually Duncan
Duncan
Idaho.
Idaho, but it feels like something like that could happen in these prequel books, right? Like
But
it feels like
we're gonna
you know
hate.
these books are, and this was the same with the House trilogy, but I thought maybe that one kind of read better, but it just feels like things are happening to people in this book and in these books.
Damn. I
I,
don't I
I think
don't
it
know.
uses third person omniscient is the point of view that it uses, and it doesn't really land in some instances because I think with that third person omniscient, you don't really get to know the characters, and none of them kind of resonate, and none of them also, they don't feel like you're not really rooting for them. Like there was no main character in this book.
No. No, I mean, I
Serena
guess
Butler, yeah,
Serena Butler. No, it's probably, honestly, it's probably Vor Atreides. He's the
yeah,
one that undergoes a change. He's the only one because Serena Butler stays the same.
yeah,
I mean, things are forced upon her, but I mean, she stays the same to her core. It is Vor who undergoes the change in this.
yeah. Even Iblis, who's like the slave master who ends up leading the revolt. Like I feel like early on when they introduce his character in the book, they already kind of let you know that hey, he doesn't really agree with all that's going on, and
Hmm.
this person could end up kind of rebelling against his masters. But the crazy and weird and silly thing is, as you said, that Vor only undergoes a change because he wants Serena, not
Yeah,
because. I mean, the book kind of described it as like, he realizes that things, hey, maybe I was wrong about wanting to be a Cymac, and maybe like this isn't right, but it's really because he wants Serena.
yeah. That's the initial push. She's the most intriguing woman he's ever met, and
Yeah,
then he simps so hard for her when they get back at the end.
yeah, that might be the most realistic thing in this book. Actually, is that he wants Serena and therefore changes his entire
Yeah.
personality.
He's the male loneliness epidemic,
Yeah,
as one character.
yeah,
There's, like, a really funny quote, like, it's his inner monologue when he finally, officially meets Xavier Harkonnen. He's like, "I would have waited for Serena. I would." And I thought it was just, that whole thing is the most forced nonsense drama that Xavier just marries Serena's sister
yeah.
in a year. It's not even.
Yeah. It felt like it was just there to create some kind of dramatic tension, but you kind of have to care about the characters in order to care
But
about that dramatic tension.
I I would have been fine with that plot line if it was, like, forced upon him. Like, he didn't want to do that, but for political purposes, he had to maintain, like, his position, and he has to take one for the team. That would have been some interesting drama right there, but instead, no. No, he was just lonely.
Yeah.
She
There
always had a crush on him.
there were a couple other things I actually wanted to mention. So there was one, yeah, you mentioned Playlock, who was the original Titan, I believe.
Mhm,
Um, but there was one Titan that kind of just left for, the go outside of known space and
mhm,
do their own thing. And I forget which Titan it was, but that's kind of interesting. Maybe we'll see what that Titan's up to in later books. I think like kind of setting up that mystery box is it, depending on how it pays off, could be interesting.
mhm.
Um, the stuff between the Zen Sunni and the Zen Shiites and the Buddha, I think it's called what, Bood Islam or something like that,
Yeah,
is
Buddhism.
so confusing to me. Like I don't think that
It
was done very well.
it's an allegory for what was going on in the Middle East at the time these were
Right.
written, which dates the book substantially.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to talk about Middle East politics of the early 2000s with this. It's like a bizarre allegory.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. You see, that's the thing. Is like the original Dune books, to a certain extent, feel timeless, right? Um, and then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was Zufa Senva, who's the lead sorceress of Rosek, and how rude she is to her husband, Aurelius Venport. She's just such an unpleasant character, and her
well,
daughter.
she's horrible to everyone, but
Yeah,
the two of them especially. She's just the worst.
just like a thoroughly unpleasant, miserable character. I was hoping she would, get crushed by a Titan or something, but it didn't happen.
We still have two more books to hope.
And these sorceresses, they never really explain sort of what the genesis of their power is, or sort of how they get these abilities. But they're
It's
basically like EMPs. They're human
yeah,
EMPs.
they're all like Carrie.
Yeah, they're all carry essentially.
They're
Essentially,
all
yeah, it's
Carrie
exactly
or
right.
I can't remember what the girl was name was in Firestarter, but essentially like works the same as that, but they don't really explain how it works. That it just works.
Yeah,
But she's like resentful because she can't have children, which I think is actually maybe a plot point that it's her problem and not her mate's problem.
that's right. And she does have Norma, but Norma's like, I think she's like, is she
She has
like dwarfism?
yeah, she has dwarfism.
Yeah,
Um,
but
but Norma's like the irony is that Norma is like one of the best characters in this
yeah,
whole book, and it's like she's just treated terribly by her mother. So she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go leave. And her plot line's fun until we get to the slave revolt,
that's right. I agree.
and then it becomes frustrating. Um, and like I can't. She makes Teal Holtzman look bad because she's never learned like a political grace in talking to nobles because her
Yeah,
mother's just the worst. That is something that does work out. And it's essentially Teal Holtzman gets screwed over because he's going to do an experiment that's just going to kill a bunch of people. And she goes over his head to Lord Blood and is like, "We need to do this on an asteroid so that the city doesn't get leveled."
right.
And sure enough, she's right. And then he just can't forgive her because he's an egotistical goon.
But he steals her work. I feel like it's gonna. I mean, like that's why we don't hear about Norma in the later books. That's gonna be the plot. Is that Holtzman basically takes her homework and like erases her name and writes his own name on it. And
Yeah,
says like, I create all these things.
yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, what would you rank Butlerian Jihad?
Uh, I'd give it like a 2 out of 5.
Yeah, I give it a 1.5 out of 5. This is really bad.
Yeah.
I dreaded this. I dreaded recording this. I think we did a fairly good job,
Covered
but
a lot of ground. Yeah.
Yeah, just like the Death Star, we broke new ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Next time in 4 months, actually, I do plan to start this at the end of January. We'll talk about Dune, the Machine Crusade,
Okay.
which I think is the longest of all the Dune books.
Out of like every single one that's ever been written.
I think so. It's 27 hours long.
All right, then. Guess we
That's
got to
long.
lock in.
The original, that's like an hour longer than the original Dune, which I thought was the longest. I mean, I can look real fast and see what hunters and sandworms of Dune are in
Yeah, we
length.
got to read without rhythm. Yeah, I'm looking at some of these like profound quotes, and I'm trying to find like a good one to read on this, and I can't find anything. There's a character that they keep talking about, Fakan Butler. I don't think they ever introduce him, but I suspect that that's going to be Serena's second son.
I don't know. She had a
I don't know.
hysterectomy. Sandworms is only
Oh,
19,
never mind. Yeah, you're right.
and Hunters is 20. It could be one of Octa's.
That's the sister.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that would be a Harkonnen.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know at all.
Are we going to find out that the Harkonnens are actually the heroes of the story, and that the Atreides are the ones who betrayed them? And then, or is it? Do you think it? Because like we've been told up until this point with all the other books that the Harkonnens betray the Atreides at like a pivotal moment at the Battle of Corrin. Yeah.
Which is the third book.
So I guess we'll see.
I think it's going to be a genuine misunderstanding. That's my prediction. It's going to be a genuine misunderstanding, and because Xavier and Vor don't get along, it's just going to escalate it into a generations long conflict between the two until they're united under Paul, who is both Atreides and Harkonnen.
Right.
Because I don't know. I'm not looking forward to this.
I guess my question is, what do you hope to see in book 2 or 3, if anything? Maybe more character development.
Maybe Erasmus doing disgusting things again.
Vivisecting humans.
Yeah, I've heard this one's the most graphic of all these Dune books. Like Matt Wilkins back in the day on set, it was on Princes of the Universe. He reviewed all the Dune books up until Navigators of Dune, I think. And he was like, this one's the gross one.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the infanticide really kind of turned me off. I think I had to put the book down for a couple days. Maybe Erasmus will create futars.
No. And chair dogs.
And chair dogs.
Ugh. That was two positives there. That gives I take it back. This book's a 1.8 out of 5.
Yeah.
1.7 out of 5. It adds 2 minute points. There were no futars and no chair dogs. I was not uncomfortable from those.
That's right.
I forgot futars existed until you said something.
I have to remind you every episode.
It's like what was that Stephen King film, the screenplay he wrote with the werecats?
Oh, I have no clue.
It was in the 90s. I don't know.
Sounds terrible though.
It is. He wrote a screenplay. They made it into. It's a really funny movie, and it does end with a bunch of cats killing a werecat, and they're like essentially soul vampires. They suck the souls out of people, but they turn into like weird werecats. I can't remember, but that's what I think of futars. Is that
I can't handle it. So I hope those movies never get adapted. The last couple, those last couple Dune books never get adapted into movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking forward to Dune Messiah being a movie.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because they kind of changed Chani's motivation at the end of Dune Part 2, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
for what reason other than was it just straight a political choice to
I don't know. I don't know. Some people like to imprint their own spin on things. Um, maybe it'll. I don't know. It kind of leaves things in a weird spot for Dune Messiah because, or maybe I'm overthinking it, but I think that Chani and Paul are supposed to kind of be this cohesive unit in Dune Messiah. And now that she thinks that he's, at least from what I could tell in the movie, she thinks that he's like a tyrant. It it creates a weirder dynamic.
I mean, he is.
Right, right. But
But
it
yeah,
seems like in Dune Messiah, or at least at the end of Dune, like she's okay with it.
yeah. Well, that's the point. Like she's one of the many that worship him.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
But aren't
yeah.
you looking forward to Duncan Idaho coming back in Dune Messiah?
Well, that's why they got Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I knew in that first part when Jason Momoa was introduced, and all the women are like, "Oh my God, it's Jason Momoa!" Yet in the theater, and I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna do Dune Messiah then."
Yeah.
It's the only reason because Duncan Idaho in the original the '80s film, he's like a nobody actor. He doesn't even have any lines.
Yeah. I don't even remember who played him. Yeah, you
It's
said
a
nobody actor.
nobody,
Yeah.
nobody. It's not like oh gosh, Gurney Halleck's played by Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. And then Josh Brolin. Like also, but I think both are decent choices for that character. Kind of different tone, but decent enough choices.
I think the way Josh Brolin is told to act is not it's not Gurney Halleck
Yeah.
at all. But then again, it's nowhere near as bad as Jessica is in those movies. I think
Who's
she's
Rebecca Ferguson
yeah, I think
in
she's
new ones?
terrible in them.
Really?
But then
Okay.
again, I also think Zendaya's pretty awful.
Yeah.
But I think Zendaya's bad in most movies. She's very good at playing crackhead in Euphoria. That's like it's like her
Yeah.
one.
I actually didn't mind her in the Dune movies. I don't love her in the Spider-Man films though. But yeah,
Well, I
just
don't
not.
love those. Hot take: those Spider-Man films are not good.
They're not my favorite. I like the Toby films. I always
Yeah,
have. Yeah.
I'd take any of the original. I'd even take Amazing Spider-Man 2 over, especially that second um MCU film with Mysterio. I thought that
Yeah.
was particularly bad.
Far From Home, I think it's called.
Yeah, the third one's just member berries the movie. It's just, at least it's got some good like it's got some funny Spider-Man on Spider-Man like stuff.
Yeah. Third one's a fun movie. It's a
Uh,
fun movie. But you're right, it's member berries. But
that first one, Homecoming, was pretty decent.
yeah.
Um
But then member berries, so is this. So is this. The
Jesus.
Butlerian Jihad. See, like every time I try and put it, it just makes me disappear. My computer
Yeah,
refuses to put it on
yeah.
camera.
The butthole Aryan Jihad. I almost like wrote butthole on this.
Yeah.
I didn't. My first print book club edition.
Yeah, this was actually, it's funny, just to kind of maybe bring it back and tie it off. This was the one that I was always interested in reading as a kid. When I first started reading Dune, I always really wanted to get to the Butlerian Jihad. And I mean, it's sad to say, but it didn't live up to my expectations. Hopefully the next couple are better.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope. I have a feeling once we get through these initial like Kevin J. Anderson, Brian Herbert books, when we get to like the shorter ones, I think we'll enjoy those more.
Yeah.
Part of this problem is these page counts are just too long for these stories.
I think that's the biggest problem, I would say.
There's just too much and too little at the same time. It's bad.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's about all I have.
Me too.
Walk without rhythm, or you'll attract the worm. or just a really bad Dune prequel book. Goodbye, everyone.